True tawakkul begins when a person understands the difference between effort and control. Human beings are naturally wired to plan, calculate, and try to secure outcomes because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. We want guarantees about our future, our success, our health, and our relationships. Yet Islam teaches that while effort belongs to us, results belong entirely to Allah. Trusting Allah means accepting that no matter how intelligent, hardworking, or prepared we are, the final outcome is always in His hands. This realization is not meant to weaken ambition, but to purify intention and calm the heart. Many people believe trust in Allah means waiting passively for things to happen, but true tawakkul is active. A believer works hard, seeks opportunities, makes wise decisions, and uses every halal means available. The Prophet Muhammad, Arabic Sada, Arabic Lam, Arabic Lif Maksura, Arabic Lif, Arabic Lif, Arabic Lif, Arabic Lam, 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 Arabic Lim taught this balance beautifully. When he advised a man to tie his camel first and then trust Allah, the lesson is clear. Effort is an act of obedience, while surrendering outcomes is an act of faith. When someone does everything within their ability and then releases the anxiety of results, they feel a sense of accomplishment and confidence. They experience a unique form of inner peace that cannot be achieved through control alone. The struggle often comes from the illusion that control equals safety. People overthink decisions, replay conversations, and worry endlessly about possibilities that may never occur. This constant mental pressure drains emotional energy and weakens faith because the heart begins to rely more on personal planning than divine wisdom. Tawakkul shifts this mindset. It reminds a believer that Allah's knowledge surrounds past, present, and future simultaneously. What appears beneficial today may lead to harm tomorrow, and what seems like loss may actually be protection arranged by divine mercy. Letting go of control does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means releasing the burden of outcomes that were never ours to carry. When someone truly trusts Allah, they are truly at peace. They stop measuring success only by immediate results. They understand that unanswered prayers close doors, and unexpected changes are not signs of failure, but signs of Allah directing their path towards something better. This perspective transforms disappointment into acceptance and fear into reliance. A heart attached to Allah becomes resilient during uncertainty. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the believer begins asking, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" This shift in thinking strengthens emotional stability. Difficulties no longer feel random or meaningless because the believer recognizes that every event unfolds under divine wisdom. Even moments of confusion become opportunities to deepen faith and humility. Trusting Allah also frees a person from comparison with others. Many worries arise from watching people who seem ahead in life, more successful, more stable, or more fortunate. Tawakkul reminds the believer that every individual journey is uniquely written by Allah. What is meant for one person will never miss them, and what is not meant for them can never be forced into existence. This understanding removes jealousy, impatience, and desperation, replacing them with contentment and dignity. When control is surrendered to Allah, the heart finds rest because it no longer fights against destiny. A believer still dreams, strives, and hopes, but without panic. They learn to sleep peacefully after sincere effort, knowing that Allah is managing what they cannot see. This trust builds courage because fear of failure decreases when outcomes are entrusted to the most merciful. Even setbacks lose their power to break the spirit, since the believer knows that Allah's plan unfolds beyond human understanding. Over time, tawakkul reshapes character. It nurtures patience during waiting, gratitude during success, and calmness during trials. The believer walks through life with confidence, not in personal ability alone, but in Allah's constant care and perfect planning. Every step becomes lighter because the heart recognizes that it was never meant to carry the weight of the future alone. Worry often begins when a person forgets the greatness and power of Allah. Human beings naturally focus on visible problems, unpaid bills, uncertain futures, broken relationships, health concerns, or unanswered prayers. When attention remains fixed only on difficulties, the mind magnifies fear and the heart becomes overwhelmed. Anxiety grows not necessarily because problems are too large, but because faith momentarily becomes smaller than the situation. The believer's peace returns when they remember that no challenge exists outside Allah's control. Allah is the creator of everything that exists. The one who created the heavens, the earth, time itself, and every living soul does not struggle to change circumstances. What feels impossible to human understanding is effortless for him. Yet people often behave as if their problems are exceptions to divine power, as though their situation is too complicated or too late for relief. This mindset quietly disconnects the heart from trust and replaces reliance on Allah with reliance on limited human reasoning. Worry thrives in uncertainty because humans crave predictability. When outcomes are unknown, the mind begins imagining worst-case scenarios. Thoughts spiral into fear about what might happen tomorrow, next month, or years ahead. Islam redirects this thinking by teaching believers to anchor themselves in Allah's attributes. Al-Qadir, the all-powerful Al-Hakim, the most wise Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Remembering these names changes how a believer interprets hardship. Instead of seeing chaos, they recognize divine management unfolding behind the scenes. Many worries come from assuming that solutions must appear immediately. People expect instant change, quick answers, and visible progress. When relief does not arrive on their preferred timeline, doubt and frustration begin. Will to grow. However, Allah's wisdom operates beyond human impatience. Sometimes Allah delays relief because the believer is being strengthened spiritually, protected from unseen harm, or guided toward a better outcome than the one originally desired. The delay itself becomes part of the mercy. The human mind often exaggerates problems while underestimating blessings already present. A person may spend hours worrying about what is missing while ignoring countless gifts surrounding them. Health, faith, opportunities, protection, and daily sustenance. Shaitan encourages fixation on fear because worry weakens hope and distracts the heart from gratitude. When believers consciously remember Allah's past favors, anxiety loses its grip. Reflecting on how Allah solved previous difficulties builds confidence that current struggles will also pass. Trust grows when believers recall moments in their lives when help arrived unexpectedly. Situations once thought impossible were resolved in ways they never predicted. Doors opened after repeated rejection. Ease followed periods of hardship. These experiences are reminders that Allah's power constantly operates beyond human planning. Every past rescue is evidence that future relief remains possible. Worry also increases when people carry burdens meant only for Allah. Humans attempt to control outcomes, predict every possibility, and secure absolute certainty, yet such control was never given to humanity. When believers accept their limitations and return matters to Allah, emotional relief follows. Making sincere dua becomes an act of releasing fear rather than merely requesting change. The heart learns that even when circumstances remain difficult, it is never alone in facing them. Remembering Allah during moments of stress transforms emotional reactions. Instead of panic, the believer turns to prayer. Instead of endless overthinking, they engage in dhikr. Instead of assuming the worst, they expect Allah's mercy. Faith does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how challenges are experienced. Problems that once felt crushing begin to feel manageable because the believer's confidence shifts from personal strength to divine support. As remembrance increases, worry gradually loses its dominance over the heart. Faith replaces fear, hope replaces despair, and calmness replaces restlessness. The believer begins to understand that anxiety fades when awareness of Allah's power becomes stronger than awareness of the problem itself. One of the greatest struggles believers face is misunderstanding delays in life. When prayers seem unanswered, opportunities do not appear, or desired outcomes fail to arrive, it becomes easy to assume that Allah has refused what was asked. Human beings naturally connect speed with acceptance and delay with rejection, but divine wisdom does not operate according to human impatience. In Islam, a delay is never meaningless. What appears slow or postponed may actually be carefully timed. Mercy unfolding beyond human perception. People often make dua with deep sincerity, hoping for immediate change. They pray for success, relief from hardship, healing, or emotional peace. When days turn into months and nothing visibly changes, doubt quietly enters the heart. Questions arise about whether prayers are being heard. Yet Allah promises that every sincere dua reaches Him. The absence of immediate results does not indicate neglect. It reflects a plan designed with knowledge of consequences that humans cannot foresee. Sometimes Allah delays granting something because a person is not yet ready to receive it. A blessing given too early may become a burden rather than a gift. Wealth without maturity can lead to arrogance. Success without patience can create ingratitude. Relationships entered at the wrong time may bring harm instead of peace. Allah, in His perfect knowledge, prepares the believer internally before delivering what they seek. The waiting period becomes a process of growth, shaping character, strengthening faith, and teaching reliance. There are moments when a person desperately wants something, believing it will bring happiness. Yet Allah knows it would eventually cause pain. Out of mercy, He redirects the path even if the believer initially feels disappointed. Many people later look back on closed doors with gratitude, realizing that what they once viewed as loss was actually protection. The job not received, the relationship that ended, or the plan that failed often becomes the reason a greater blessing appears later. Allah sees the full picture while humans see only a single moment. Delays also teach patience, one of the most beloved qualities in Islam. Patience is not passive suffering but active trust during uncertainty. It requires continuing good deeds, maintaining hope, and avoiding despair, even when answers seem distant. Through waiting, believers learn emotional resilience. Their faith becomes deeper because it is no longer dependent on immediate results, but rooted in confidence that Allah's wisdom never fails. Another hidden mercy in delays is the strengthening of connection with Allah. When a person urgently needs something, they turn to Allah more frequently. They pray longer, make more dua, and remember Him throughout the day. This increased closeness becomes a blessing greater than the original request itself. Sometimes Allah delays granting a desire because He loves hearing the servant call upon Him repeatedly. Human beings measure time differently from Allah. What feels long to a person may be perfectly timed within divine planning. A few years of waiting may prevent decades of regret. Allah arranges circumstances, people, and opportunities in ways that align precisely with what will benefit the believer most. Even painful waiting periods carry unseen rewards, including forgiveness of sins, elevation of spiritual rank, and strengthening of reliance. Believers who understand this wisdom begin to interpret delays differently. Instead of feeling abandoned, they feel guided. Instead of assuming rejection, they anticipate something better. Hope replaces frustration because they trust that Allah never withholds goodness without reason. The heart learns to remain calm even when outcomes remain unclear, recognizing that divine timing always serves a purpose greater than human understanding. Patience is one of the most powerful qualities a believer can develop, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people associate patience with weakness or passive endurance, thinking it means silently tolerating hardship without emotion. In reality, patience in Islam is an active state of strength. It is the ability to remain steady in faith while facing uncertainty, pain, or delay. Patience is not the absence of struggle, it is choosing trust in Allah despite the struggle. Every human life includes moments of difficulty. Trials appear in different forms: financial pressure, emotional heartbreak, loss, failure, or unanswered prayers. During these moments, the heart naturally seeks immediate relief. Humans want problems to disappear quickly, yet Allah often allows hardship to continue for a period because transformation occurs within the process itself. Hardships refine character, remove arrogance, and awaken deeper reliance on Allah. Without trials, many people would never discover their true spiritual strength. Patience becomes the bridge between hardship and miracles. When circumstances seem unchanged and solutions remain invisible, the believer continues to hold on to faith. This perseverance invites divine assistance in ways that cannot always be predicted. Many of the greatest turning points in life occur after moments when a person feels they have reached their limit but chooses to remain patient anyway. It is often at the peak of difficulty that Allah opens unexpected doors. A patient believer learns to control reactions rather than circumstances. While external events may remain beyond will, control, internal responses remain a personal choice. Instead of responding to hardship with anger or despair, patience encourages calm reflection and trust. This emotional discipline protects the heart from bitterness. It allows the believer to endure challenges without losing hope or gratitude. Patience also protects faith during confusion. Sometimes events unfold in ways that make no immediate sense. Plans fail despite sincere effort, and outcomes differ greatly from expectations. In these moments, patience prevents the believer from rushing to negative conclusions about Allah's mercy. It reminds them that understanding often comes later. What feels painful today may reveal wisdom tomorrow. The Quran repeatedly connects patience with divine reward and support. Allah promises that He is with those who are patient, meaning His guidance, help and mercy accompany them during hardship. This companionship provides emotional strength even when external relief has not yet arrived. Knowing that Allah sees every tear, every silent struggle, and every effort to remain faithful gives believers the courage to continue moving forward. Patience also develops gratitude. When a person experiences difficulty, they begin to appreciate blessings that were once taken for granted. Ease becomes more meaningful after hardship. Small moments of relief feel like miracles because the believer has endured struggle. Through patience, the heart becomes more aware of Allah's constant care. Another powerful aspect of patience is its ability to prevent regret. Impatience often leads people to make rushed decisions driven by emotion, giving up too early, abandoning hope, or choosing harmful solutions simply to escape discomfort. Patience creates space for clarity. It allows time for better opportunities to emerge and for emotions to settle before major decisions are made. Miracles in life rarely appear instantly. They often unfold gradually, shaped by consistent patience and trust. The person who remains patient continues making dua, maintaining good character, and striving sincerely even when progress seems slow. Over time, situations shift in ways that once seemed impossible. Hearts heal, opportunities appear, and relief arrives at moments perfectly aligned with Allah's wisdom. Through patience, believers learn that hardship is never permanent and that every test carries hidden mercy. Patience transforms suffering into growth and uncertainty into spiritual elevation, allowing the believer to walk through trials with dignity, hope, and unwavering reliance on Allah. Dua is one of the most intimate acts of worship because it represents direct communication between a servant and Allah. When a believer raises their hands in prayer, they acknowledge their dependence, weakness, and hope in the one who controls all outcomes. Yet many people struggle to maintain consistency in dua when they do not see immediate results. They assume that if circumstances remain unchanged, their prayers are not being answered. This misunderstanding weakens motivation and allows discouragement to replace hope. In Islam, no sincere dua is ever wasted. Every supplication is heard, recorded, and responded to in a way that aligns with Allah's perfect wisdom. The response may not always appear in the form the believer expects, but it always carries benefit. Sometimes Allah grants exactly what is requested. At other times, He delays the response until the right moment. In some cases, He replaces the request with something better or removes unseen harm in exchange for the prayer made. Even when the external situation looks the same, unseen changes may already be taking place. One of the greatest tests of faith is continuing to make dua when nothing appears to change. Persistence in prayer demonstrates sincerity. It shows that the believer is not turning to Allah only when results are guaranteed, but is relying on Him regardless of visible outcomes. This consistency strengthens spiritual connection and deepens humility. The act of repeatedly asking Allah softens the heart and reminds the believer that ultimate control belongs only to Him. Dua also serves as emotional relief. Many worries, fears, and pains cannot be fully expressed to other people, but Allah understands every unspoken feeling. When believers pour their concerns into dua, they release burdens that were weighing heavily on their hearts. Even before circumstances change, peace begins to grow because the believer knows their struggles have been placed before the most merciful. Shaitan often whispers doubts during periods when prayers seem unanswered. He encourages thoughts such as why keep asking or nothing is happening. These whispers aim to disconnect believers from the powerful act of supplication. Persisting in dua becomes an act of resistance against despair. Each prayer strengthens faith and weakens hopelessness. The believer learns that the value of dua is not limited to receiving a specific outcome, but includes the spiritual closeness created through continuous remembrance of Allah. Sometimes Allah loves to hear the voice of His servant calling upon Him again and again. The repetition of dua increases awareness of Allah throughout daily life. A person who constantly turns to Allah develops stronger reliance and deeper gratitude. Over time, the believer begins to notice subtle changes. Increased patience, improved character, unexpected ease in difficult moments, or protection from situations that could have caused harm. These unseen responses reflect Allah's mercy working quietly in the background. Dua also teaches surrender. When a believer repeatedly asks Allah, while accepting that the answer may come differently than expected, they learn to release attachment to specific outcomes. The focus shifts from demanding results to trusting divine wisdom. This surrender removes frustration and replaces it with contentment, knowing that Allah chooses what is ultimately best, even. On the day of judgment, believers will discover rewards stored for duas that were not granted in worldly life. The immense blessings prepared for those prayers will make them realize that nothing they asked for was ever ignored. Every tear shed during supplication, every whispered prayer made in loneliness, and every hopeful request carried spiritual value beyond human imagination. Continuing to make dua despite silence strengthens resilience and keeps hope alive. It nurtures patience, reinforces faith, and reminds the believer that Allah's response is always unfolding, even when it remains hidden from immediate sight. Gratitude is one of the most transformative spiritual attitudes a believer can develop because it changes how life itself is experienced. Many people wait for perfect circumstances before feeling thankful, assuming gratitude is a reaction to ease, success, or abundance. Islam teaches the opposite. Gratitude is a choice made regardless of circumstances. When a believer learns to thank Allah during both comfort and difficulty, faith becomes stronger and the heart discovers lasting contentment. Human nature often focuses on what is missing rather than what is present. People compare their lives to others, noticing achievements they have not reached, possessions they do not own, or opportunities they feel they lack. This constant comparison feeds dissatisfaction and anxiety. Gratitude interrupts this pattern by redirecting attention toward blessings already given. Health, faith, family, guidance, daily provision, and countless unseen protections are gifts that often go unnoticed simply because they are consistent. Allah promises increase for those who are grateful, and this increase extends beyond material wealth. Gratitude expands emotional peace, strengthens relationships, and nurtures spiritual clarity. When believers regularly acknowledge Allah's blessings, they begin to experience joy in ordinary moments. Small acts such as waking up safely, completing daily tasks, or receiving kindness from others become reminders of divine mercy. Life feels fuller not because circumstances suddenly change, but because perspective transforms. Gratitude during hardship carries even deeper spiritual significance. Thanking Allah while facing challenges does not mean denying pain or pretending difficulties do not exist. Instead, it reflects trust that Allah's wisdom remains present even within struggle. A grateful believer recognizes that every test carries hidden lessons, purification of sins, and opportunities for spiritual elevation. This mindset prevents hardship from turning into bitterness or despair. When gratitude becomes habitual, it protects the heart from negativity. Complaining, resentment, and hopelessness lose their influence because the believer continually remembers Allah's favors. Gratitude trains the mind to search for mercy even in difficult situations. A delayed opportunity may reveal personal growth. A closed door will lead to a safer path. A challenging experience may strengthen patience and empathy toward others. Gratitude also strengthens connection with Allah. Expressing thanks through words, prayer, and actions increases awareness of His presence in everyday life. The believer begins to see blessings not as coincidences but as intentional gifts from a caring Lord. This awareness deepens love for Allah and encourages obedience, since gratitude naturally inspires a desire to please the one who provides endlessly. Another powerful effect of gratitude is its ability to reduce fear about the future. When believers reflect on past blessings, they remember how Allah has continuously supported and guided them. This reflection builds confidence that future needs will also be met. Gratitude shifts focus from uncertainty to trust, allowing the believer to move forward with hope instead of anxiety. Grateful people also spread positivity to those around them. Their appreciation influences relationships, making them more patient, kind, and compassionate. Instead of focusing on faults in others, they recognize goodness and express appreciation openly. This attitude strengthens communities and creates environments filled with encouragement rather than criticism. Gratitude is not limited to words spoken after receiving blessings, it is demonstrated through actions. Using time wisely, helping others, maintaining humility, and obeying Allah are all forms of thankfulness. When believers live gratefully, every aspect of their life becomes an act of worship. Their success does not lead to arrogance, and their hardship does not lead to despair, because gratitude keeps the heart balanced between hope and humility. Over time, gratitude reshapes the believer's inner world. Contentment replaces constant longing, peace replaces restlessness, and faith grows stronger with each acknowledgement of Allah's mercy present in both ease and difficulty.